It's time. It's time to finish your wife. I couldn't believe what I heard. It was my mother-in-law. I happened to overhear the conversation between my husband and his mother. They were planning to harm me. Why? After hearing the conversation, I pretended that I did not hear a thing. With my father's help, I gathered the evidence of their plan for my murder. Until I had sufficient proof, I remained patient and lived with my husband and his mother. Later, they were charged for what they did. My name is Jen. I am a 28-year-old housewife who lives with my husband and his mother. My husband, Ken, was a 32-year-old office worker. He was very close with his mother. They were so close, it made me uncomfortable. Even after we got married, my husband and his mother often went out for dinner or went on vacation together, just the two of them. Which one was your wife, Ken? At first, I didn't understand why Ken did everything with his mother, not with me. I didn't mind that my husband and his mother were close, but it was beyond a normal mother and son relationship. I understood Mary felt lonesome since she lost her husband, but how about me? I was lonely and I was her son's wife. My mother-in-law, Mary, seemed pretty happy with her life. She didn't get jealous or upset at me. That's because Mary always came first in her household. I didn't think Mary had much interest in getting to know me. She didn't talk to me much, nor did she treat me like a daughter-in-law. I felt uncomfortable at first, but I realized it was easier. I had nothing to talk with her about anyways. It was kind of nice that I didn't have to make a conversation with her. So, I stopped paying much attention to my mother-in-law. She treated me as if I didn't exist, like air. I thought we were fine as long as we didn't meddle in each other's business. My husband was a kind person. He helped me around the house a lot. I married him because of his kindness. Usually, housework was the wife's job, especially if you lived with in-laws. But Ken was different. He helped me so much with a variety of chores. I was very grateful. Having a very helpful husband who lives with his parents was pretty rare, I thought. However, Ken had a big flaw. He was addicted to gambling. He often went gambling on horse racing or slot machines. He usually came home with no money left. Even after spending all the money he had, he couldn't stop gambling. We had no savings. We were barely getting by. I wanted to have children, but I was not sure if we would have enough money to raise a child. One day, after a few years of our marriage, my mother-in-law asked me impatiently why she didn't have a grandchild yet. I have been waiting patiently. Where is my grandchild? She asked. But mother, I said, Ken spends everything he makes on gambling. I don't think we have enough money saved to have a child. Do you worry too much? It will work out, Mary said. No. Money is important. It costs a lot of money to raise a child. If you keep saying that, soon you will be too old to have one, Mary said sarcastically. Our financial situation is too unstable to have a child right now, I told her. Then I will never see my grandchild, Mary shouted. As we were talking, our conversation got heated and ended up in a big argument. After we had this big fight, I stopped talking to her. We just looked the other way when we saw each other. We didn't interact much before, but at least we were polite to each other. It was not just plain indifference between us anymore. My relationship with Mary was getting worse, and it got harder to live with her. Ken noticed that his mother and I were not getting along. Well, Mom, a child is a gift from heaven. We just need to be patient. Jen, do not worry, we will have a child someday. It was my fault. He apologized for his gambling habit. Of course I wanted my own children. The reason I hesitated to have one was because of Ken's gambling habit. If only he quit gambling completely and started saving money, Ken was on my side, but never said he would quit gambling. I was sad, but I was also happy that he told his mother not to blame me. He was always kind like that. After having this conversation, Mary stopped asking me about a baby. As a married woman without a child, when are you having a baby? Was the hardest thing to be asked. So I was happy Mary stopped asking me. I thought Mary had given up wishing for her grandchild. I usually slept deep and slept through the night. But one night, I woke up, shivering. It was late autumn, and the temperature plunged that night. I got up to get a blanket. I thought I might catch a cold otherwise. With my phone's flashlight, I went downstairs. Then I noticed the living room light was on. I couldn't see well at first. It was too bright for my sleepy eyes. But as my eyes adjusted to the bright light, I saw Ken and his mother in the room. My phone showed it was past 2 in the morning. I wondered what they were doing in the middle of the night. "Almost there," my husband, Ken, said to his mother. Not knowing what they were talking about, I squatted down and listened. As I was listening, It's time. It's time to finish your wife." I heard Mary's voice. Surprised, I pressed my phone to record the conversation. My husband was talking in his usual calm, kind voice. I almost forgot to breathe while listening. "I told you before, it is too obvious to put the poisonous mushroom in her food at home. Police will be called and we will be investigated. We don't want to get caught, right? So my plan is, we take her mushroom hunting, and we accidentally pick the wrong mushroom. It must look like an accident. Do not hurry, Mom. If the police find out we poisoned Jen intentionally, we won't be eligible to receive her life insurance. I need to pay back all my debt with the money." I couldn't believe what I heard. It was my husband, talking in his usual soothing, kind tone to his mother. But what he was telling her horrified me. I knew he had bought a very pricey life insurance policy on me after we got married. I remembered wondering why he bought such an expensive policy, since its monthly payments were very high for our financial situation. I speculated that this was his plan from the beginning. Was he planning to murder me for insurance money all this time? I was so shaken, I felt ill. I cupped my hand over my mouth. I felt like throwing up. I don't remember how I made it back to my bed. I couldn't sleep a wink the rest of the night. What Ken was saying to his mother was on repeat in my head. Next morning, after sending Ken to work, I thought about my father. He was a police officer. After making sure my mother-in-law was not in the house, I called my father. "Dad, I need your help. Ken and his mother are trying to harm me. I heard the conversation last night. Could you help me?" I said. "What? Are you at home?" My father, Steve, said. "Yes, I'm home alone." "I will be right there," he said. "Thank you, Dad, be here soon," I told him. He took a day off from his work and came over. Thank you. Thank you for coming here. Please help me. They want to harm me. I couldn't sleep last night. Please help." After listening to my story, he said, "You must be very tired. Were you having trouble with your mother-in-law? You might be emotionally exhausted. Let me take you to see a doctor. They will give you something to sleep. You must be having obsessive thoughts because you are too tired." He didn't believe what I told him. He thought I was not thinking straight. I realized I had to calm down. I had to prove to him it was true. I was not insane. "Dad, listen. I am not crazy. I recorded their conversation last night. It's on my phone. Have a listen." I took out my phone and played the recording. My dad's face changed. His eyes opened wide with anger. "Jen, you are right. I am sorry, I believe you. But this recording itself is not strong enough evidence to arrest them. The only way to prove their criminal intent is to go along with their plan. Listen, Jen. I know you don't want to, but you must go mushroom hunting with them. We need to prove they are guilty. Be patient," he said. "No way, Dad. What if I accidentally eat poisonous mushrooms?" I said. "Don't worry," my dad said. "I will follow you and take pictures. We need strong evidence. Something they can't quibble with. You must be patient. You can do it. I'm believing in you. You promise you will follow us? I trust you." "I am so scared, but I will do it," I said to my father. That was how I decided to pretend that I didn't know anything about my husband and his mother's evil plan. The same night, Ken came home from work and asked me, "Jen, do you want to go mushroom hunting this weekend? My mother and I know a place where there are lots of delicious wild mushrooms. Let's make delicious mushroom soup at the outdoor grill." Here we go, I thought. "Okay, sounds good. I'll go with you too," I said casually. Father knows best. Things were going well according to our plan. Then, the weekend came. I went mushroom hunting with my husband and his mother. We gathered a lot of wild mushrooms and wild vegetables. We started making mushroom soup. It was like a mini camping trip. My husband and his mother seemed to be enjoying themselves. "They are probably thinking about my life insurance money," was all I thought when I looked at them. Ken was grilling a mushroom pizza. He also made wild vegetable fritters. He usually helped me cook dinner, so his cooking was impeccable. It was late autumn. Leaves were in deep red and yellow colors on mountains. It was beautiful, but I couldn't enjoy the scenery. I was too nervous to enjoy the moment. Ken ladled out a big bowl of steaming mushroom soup for me. "This is for you, Jen, doesn't it look delicious?" Ken said with a smile. "Thank you," I said, but in my mind, I was thinking that there must be a poisonous mushroom in it. I can't believe he is smiling and acting so naturally. If I were in his place, there is no way I could do the same. I received a steaming bowl of soup, pretended to eat it, and threw the soup away in a bush behind me. Do not eat or drink anything at the picnic. Remember, nothing. Be careful. My father told me beforehand. I had to survive. We needed to gather evidence. I didn't want to fall into Ken and his mother's scheme. I felt my phone vibrating. It was a text from my dad. It said, "I got it. Leave the rest to me." As we planned beforehand, I made a move. Oh, no. I just got a text from my family. My dad is in the hospital. I must go right now. I screamed. "What? Must you go right now?" "Eat some food first," Ken said. "Yes, this mushroom soup is so special." "Have some more," Mary said. I ignored both of them and just ran down a mountain road. I ran and ran to get away from them. Then, I saw my father. He was waiting nearby for me. As soon as I saw him, I felt relieved. "You did well, Jen. We've got everything we need. Let's go home," he said. We left the mountain in his car. We had gathered enough evidence to prove their intent to harm me. Soon after, my husband and his mother were arrested for attempted murder. My father recorded a video showing Ken serving destroying angel mushrooms in my bowl. The video and recording of their conversation the other night were filed as evidence with the police. Both recordings were recognized as very strong proof of their intent of the crime. My father told me later that Ken had an enormous amount of debt. He borrowed money anywhere he could to make payments, but it hardly made any dent in his debt. He maxed out all of his credit cards, but the interest itself overwhelmed him. He wondered how he could repay all of his debt in the easiest way. His mother's motive to erase me was that she really wanted a grandchild. Mary wanted her son to divorce me since I showed no will to get pregnant. But in reality, Mary understood it was too difficult to raise a child in his financial situation. In order to solve both of their problems, they came up with this brilliant idea of poisoning me. If everything went according to their plan, he would be debt-free and get a new wife who could give Mary a grandchild. I was just a pawn to be sacrificed for a pile of insurance money. No wonder Ken bought an expensive life insurance policy on me soon after we married. It all made sense. I was just a cash cow for Ken. The thought of my failed marriage put me into a depression. I went back to live with my parents after the mushroom incident. I couldn't take care of myself after the event. I had no will to feed myself unless my parents insisted. I was in a deep depression. I couldn't sleep. When people were talking at night, I heard Ken and Mary talking instead. My emotional turmoil lasted for a long time. Ken and Mary are both in jail. I'm safe, I told myself. I understood it logically but still felt uneasy. My parents took me all over the place to cheer me up. In spring, they took me out for cherry blossom viewing to enjoy nature. The blossoms were beautiful, but I felt nothing. My heart was broken. I went to the ocean in the summer. It was hot. I had some watermelon. I noticed that I actually enjoyed eating. I saw sweat running down my skin. Looking at my own sweat, I felt like I was alive. When autumn came, it reminded me of the horrendous mushroom incident, but I was able to enjoy the changing seasons. I was finding a small joy in my everyday life. I was finally putting my life back together. We humans are so resilient. I was getting over my traumatic experience. One day, I stopped by a cafe and met a guy who worked there. I fell in love with him at first sight. I thought I would never be able to trust a man after what I went through. I didn't believe anyone could fall in love at first sight, but here I was. I couldn't explain it well, but I liked the way he carried himself. I was very attracted to him. When I was with him, I felt relaxed. It felt so natural to be with him. Talking to him made me happy. After I fell in love with him, I was at the cafe every day just to talk to him and flirt with him. I was a different person. Falling in love empowered me and gave me happiness in my life. They say love heals all. That's so true. I kept approaching him. I kept asking him out. Finally, he agreed to go out with me. After dating for a few months, we got married. His parents live in a different part of the country, so I rarely have a chance to see them. We occasionally see them during our summer vacation or Christmas time. My new married life is just the two of us, my husband and I. No more in-laws are living with me. I am helping him at his cafe. I still have a lot to learn from him. We, as husband and wife, help each other to run our cafe together. My new husband is the complete opposite of my ex. He has this impeccable sense of money and business. We live within our means and save money every month. If you don't have a good sense of money, you can't run a successful business. My life has changed completely. I am learning a lot from him. I realize how important it is to have a good partner in one's life. Now, we have a baby just like any other couple. I had completely given up on having a baby in my first marriage, so it is like a dream come true. Becoming a mother without worrying about money is such a relief. It is a baby girl. We considered many names and finally decided to name her Violet. We want her to grow up to be like the flower, beautiful, bright, and cute. My parents were overjoyed holding their first granddaughter. That made me happy. I went through such a horrible experience, but I am now happily living my life with my new husband and my baby girl.